allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening, Lord, and we just ask that everything we say and do this evening will bring honor and glory to you, Father. We thank you for your love and mercy. We thank you for this special time, and it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Next item up is roll call. I am present. Alderman Williams. Present. Alderman Boyd. Yes. Okay. That's fine. Alderman Whalen. Here. Alderwoman Cisco.
Present.
City Administrator Burberry.
Present.
Assistant City Clerk Sir.
Present.
City Attorney Weber.
Present.
Chief of Police Chase.
Present.
Finance Director Houston.
Present.
And do we have any other city staff here with us tonight? Boys. Next item up needs a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, just a quick thing. It says tentative on it. You always have it, yeah, until we approve it now. Okay, just making sure. That's all.
This time I'll call for the vote. Alderman Whalen.
Yes.
Alderwoman Cisco.
Yes.
Alderman Williams.
Yes.
Next item up is the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
We'll call for the vote. Alderman Williams.
Yes.
Alderman Whalen.
Yes.
Alderwoman Cisco.
Yes.
Next item up is our interim public works director's resignation letter.
Probably in the back. You guys can speak up, please.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, it's fine.
Hey.
Hi, Sean. It's time to entertain a motion to accept the resignation letter from our interim public works director.
Before we make a motion, I'd like to thank Joe. Joe, you've done an incredible job of bringing up the communication, keeping things floating while we've been without a public works director, and it's greatly appreciated. All the work that you've put in and the time you've put in did not go unnoticed. I think I can speak on behalf of the rest of the board that you are very much appreciated, and we thank you for stepping up. At this time, I've moved to approve the resignation letter from the interim public works director.
Second.
This time I'll call for the vote. Alderwoman Cisco.
Yes.
Alderman Williams.
Yes.
And Alderman Whalen.
Yes.
Alderman Boyd.
Yes.
This time, the next item up would be to administrate the oath of office for our new, appointed Public Works Director, Stephen Payne.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I, Steve Payne, do solemnly swear
I, Steve Payne, do solemnly swear
that I possess all the qualifications for Public Works Director as prescribed by law,
possess all the qualifications for Public Works Director as prescribed by law,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Missouri,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Missouri,
the provisions of all laws of this state affecting cities of this class,
provisions of all laws of this state affecting cities of this class,
and the ordinances of the city of Salem,
and the ordinances of the city of Salem,
Missouri, and faithfully demean myself in office.
Missouri, and faithfully demean myself in office.
So help me God.
So help me God.
And before I skip any further along, next up, I'm going to open it up for our public comment policy, or our public comment that we have on tonight's agenda. Tonight, I want to remind everybody that if you ever have any future concerns, that this is what the board has created public comment for, to voice your opinions ahead of time. I also encourage each and every one of you, if you have any other future concerns, reach out to your alderman, reach out to myself, reach out to city staff. That's what we're here for. Tonight, if you have any other concerns, I would ask that you speak with us after the meeting's over with, not to be shouting out, so we can have a respectful amount of time to complete our agenda. Respect one another, so nobody's talking over one another. Like I said, that the representatives are here. If you do reach out to us, we will always be here to listen to you. At this time, the first person that I have up for public comment is Trina Potts.
Pot.
Pot.
All
Sorry,
right.
it's by Trinity earlier.
I've gotten that all my life.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand you guys don't normally answer questions, so my comments are kind of like questions. I know there's been people saying that there's a lack of transparency. I've never done this before, so I don't know, but I live in the area where I live on 11th Street, so I'm close to the area where you guys are talking about putting this housing development in. And I want to say I'm disappointed that the neighborhood was not notified that you guys were going to be doing this. It happened to be happenstance that people caught on to it. So I'm one of them that happened to hear about it, and that's why I'm here to hear what's going on. So number one, disappointed that we weren't included in knowing about this, and my question is why? And I have another question is, why you're giving this land away? The city needs money. Why don't you sell it instead of giving it away? And I know we need low-income housing. I get it. I understand it. But why put it in a neighborhood? Why isn't there some other areas where it's not amongst our neighborhood? Plus, in addition, a lot of low-income people don't have vehicles. What about getting it close to grocery store or Walmart or something? Isn't there any land where they can like walk to those places and not in the middle of town like that? That could be helpful. And then my other comment is, I feel like we're focusing on so many other stuff instead of the infrastructure. Everybody keeps talking about the 70-year-old, whatever that number is, of the water lines. And here we're talking, instead of working on that, we're talking about this housing. I know we need it, but, you know, we got a lot of infrastructure issues. And I just think maybe the priorities need to be looked at.
Okay. Well, thank you, Trina.
Thank you.
Next person up is Mr. Phillips.
Tilziski, and I want to be here about as much as you guys want to listen to me. But, that being said, I got my hands kind of been forced here, so I got to speak now for a whole piece. And then you guys go ahead and do whatever you want to do. But, give my little speech. My house borders the south side of this property, middle school. My family's owned this place for nearly 70 years, and we've always had a good relationship with the city and the school. And that's why I can't understand why nobody came and said anything to us. This project's obviously been in the works for quite a while, but we, the neighborhood, didn't find out about it till the day of the meeting. And I'd like to thank Alderperson Cisco, Bowler Jack, and the mayor for tabling this, so we'd have a chance to kind of figure it out a little bit, catch our breath. So, you know, someone would come and talk to us, we may have supported the deal, but they didn't come and talk to us. And if they would have come and talked to us, I'd have had some questions. And my personal questions would have been, what about drainage? When you pour that concrete, move that topography, it's gonna do something to the runoff. And since I'm straight downhill from it, it's probably gonna come to my foundation. So I wanna know who's responsible. Is the housing authority responsible? Is the city responsible? Or am I responsible? You know? When I was a kid, and the school was there, every night I had to go out and pick up milk cartons, popsicle wrappers, and cigarette butts. I don't wanna do that anymore. You know? I don't wanna do that anymore. And then like the infrastructure, can it handle this? Traffic and parking, that traffic over there is fairly congested already. And I'll make the same comment you did. If you don't have a car, what are you gonna do? You're stuck. There isn't any doctor's office, there isn't any schools, there isn't any churches, there isn't any grocery stores. You're stuck. You're stuck over there. So that's it. And the last thing I'll say about our property values. This kind of, Mr. Mayor, when you're over there Friday morning and it's quiet, step out beside your truck and just look and listen and think about what's coming a little bit and tell me that's going to improve my property values down there. So anyway, that's all I got to say. And thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. I think Mr. Ziski, I think was that your dad that used to own the property?
Right. We've had it for 70 years. I grew up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a good man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Melanie Ziski.
I'll speak from here if that's okay.
Okay.
You know, a lot of the same points, but the East 9th Street is a narrow dead-end street, and I don't believe it's adequate for a through traffic. So I don't know that it can handle volume, so that means, or traffic volume, that means more expense. The proposed park. So I understand with the housing authority, people can have a pet. So potentially 24 pets could be dumping on this 1 acre park that's proposed. So I think that's an issue. You know, we live in this rural community for a reason. We don't want densely populated areas. So we're, like you said, going into an old neighborhood. And so why go into an old neighborhood instead of creating another one? I have questions about finance, which I assume Sherman might present later. And what the restrictions are. You know, is this for low income? Is it for 62-year-olds? You know, what an age group? Is it family members? And then, you know, how is the construction going to be awarded? So again, appreciate your time. And I think infrastructure is a big issue because just even after this rain, I saw the fire hydrant this evening, had a bunch of brown rusty water come out of it. So I'm questioning whether the city can handle the sewer and the water additions. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie.
It's not as bad as it was.
Next up will be Mrs. Joyce Thorberg.
I'll just stay here.
Yes, ma'am, you
Okay.
can.
So I
kind of talked last time about how upset I was that you all didn't like get kind of a consensus of what we all thought about this. But I'm not gonna hash over that right now. I was just gonna say a few points, and a lot of these people have already mentioned them, but there's a couple other things. I've lived on 10th Street for 35 years, and for the most part, it's been an amazing neighborhood. You know, when the school was there, you know, it was like there was a lot of traffic with the school, but it wasn't anything that was a problem. I do want to say that none of us here that have shown up to talk about this, we're not arguing that there may be a need for more housing, but we just don't think that this land is exactly the right choice. I'll tell you why. I have 3 points. The city's sewer systems, as they've mentioned, are not up to par. Just in the last month alone, there's been like over 200 water leaks. You know, I don't know if I assume that was citywide. But just last night when I got home, I had sewer water backed up in my kitchen sinks from that torrential rain. So I know it's an issue. Traffic in this neighborhood is already busy. 10th Street has always been busy, but Hickory Street over there, as someone pointed out, is really narrow, and the people that have residents there have to park on the street, so you can't even get 2 cars. You can't even go past each other. So how in the world is that going to sustain this many more people? The other thing is this is a beautiful plot of land now. It's absolutely gorgeous. Everybody talks about how we need a park on this end of town. Why not do a beautiful park with walking trails? You could even maybe use part of it for educational purposes. You know, there's all kinds of things that can be done. And getting back to the housing thing, like someone else mentioned, there are other places within walking distance for people. If they come over to our residential neighborhood, there's no place they can easily walk to Walmart or Dollar General or, you know, the banks, the laundromat, wherever they may need to go. The old fairground is empty. I realize that apparently that's been slated for soccer fields, but the 10th Street property could also be soccer fields, you know. I mean, I just feel like there's not really enough options that have been explored. I guess that's all I was going to say. Just to summarize, we just really feel like the neighborhood, we all pay taxes, and we have a voice in it. And we appreciate you listening to us tonight. And
I want you to have a voice in it, Joyce. Okay?
I understand. I do. But we, you know, we're concerned about all these things. So thank you.
I understand. Thank you. Next person up is Scotty Stuman.
I feel like I came at the hottest meeting available because I'm actually here just to give my thank you and encouragement for having such a facility as we have here. So change the subject.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for allowing our city to have such a place like this. I feel like I say the Armory because I'm old school. Here has been a heartbeat to our community. We did a volleyball league starting last year, and we brought in Viburnum and Stillville and Bunker. And there were so many people like, we just are so envious that you guys have such an amazing place for your youth, for facilities. So I just wanted to say thank you again for what we have here, because we have 95 children. We're incorporating boys now that Misha has allowed boys volleyball. And there's 95 kids on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday coming in and doing volleyball, where they normally wouldn't do that yet in their school. And they're also doing it together. I think that Salem has always had a disadvantage because we've never played together until 9th grade when we flood into high school. This has been very much needed to bring us together, families together. Kids, teenagers are not running around. They're in that gym till sometimes midnight playing basketball. It's just, it's a huge encouragement that we've got something like this, and I just want to applaud the city for that. So.
Well, thank you. I've got one down there right now playing volleyball, so.
Well, good.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Steve Everett.
Just a couple of questions and a statement. I'm wondering about this meeting tonight. Is this considered a public meeting to discuss this 10th Street project?
Yeah, they wanted me to open it up after they gave their presentation. The housing authority wants to present, so they want to be able to answer some questions for you tonight. So.
Okay, so there'll be subsequent discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. And how about further meetings after tonight? Will there be anything else?
You just sign up, Steve. You just sign up for our public comment. Okay, and you can come up and speak about whatever concerns you may have.
He's talking about the property
Are you
in
talking
particular.
Right, I'm talking
every
about
future
this
meeting's
project.
likely about this property.
I would probably say yes. I mean, if it's on the agenda, like I said, you could get on our public comment policy and sign up and speak about it. Nothing stops you or prevents you from it.
Okay.
Yeah, to clarify, I think there's going to be more meetings about this property if it pushes forward.
Okay, how will we learn about that then? It's been a little sketchy, and a lot of these folks here did not hear about it timely. So how will we be notified about it?
I'm sure it'd be put on like our public agenda, just like everything else is. Okay.
Do you have? Well, I'm thinking about the timing on it. So can we learn about this, or the fact that we're going to be discussing this a little earlier?
You will, but right now we're just in the preliminaries. Nothing's like set in stone.
Yeah, this is a very, very early part of this process.
Yeah,
like the very start of discussions of this.
Nothing's been approved or anything like that. So.
Okay.
Mr. Steve, you can also sign up for text alerts if you haven't already, and it sends out the agenda notifications for every meeting that we have. So you have so you don't have to go searching for it. You can get notified through text message if you want, and I don't mind to help you set that up if you'd like.
How far in advance would that?
You know when we know, right? When it gets posted.
Okay, those are all my questions, but I'd like to go on record here and say that I think that adding any multifamily development to this infrastructure that we have right now is ill-conceived and is going to do nothing but cause trouble here. I think we need to fix the problems we have already, and before we create any new ones. And that's basically my statement.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Miss Lisa French, you were up next, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Question that kind of, piggybacks on what Steve was saying is, who is it that should be putting out these notices of meetings? Is it the housing authority or the city? Because the housing authority is not part of the city. They are a separate 501c3 entity. So would they be, and correct me if I'm wrong in a minute, okay, but I could be wrong. I've been looking through this stuff and I never looked at it my whole life until this all happened. But that's where I'm wondering, should it be put out by the housing authority, these meetings, or by the city, for future meetings? Okay, so I'd like an answer to that at some point from, I guess, Administrator Burbridge, according to policy, is the one who follows up with this stuff, unless you tell me somebody else. So anyway, I'd like to know who that comes from. Okay, my main thing, per Alderman Wayland's request, and I gave him my word that I would go look at the housing developments. And I think I found 3 but I couldn't find anywhere, I mean, I went to them multiple times, okay? Wasn't looking in anybody's windows or anything, just drove in, okay? But I couldn't find any place listed on the Housing Authority that tells me the addresses of the Housing Authority developments. Are there 3? Can somebody tell me that? McGrath is one. 2 of them over on Oak Street. Is that right? Anybody know?
Vanderbilt, it's McGrath, is the housing authority.
Okay, built by, a development by the Housing Authority.
The housing authority is 606.
Are you the director?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. I've been trying to get a hold of you. So,
I'm at 606 McGrath.
I know that, but I've left a voicemail message, and so has another person, and it's been over a week ago. Neither one of us heard back. And we can't get information without calls back. I left a voicemail message, so did they.
Okay.
Okay, so, well, can you tell me then, what are the developments over on Oak that are around the corner from? They aren't yours. So there's only one Salem Housing Authority development? 2?
We have 2.
2, okay.
And
Can you
it's
tell us?
all on McGrath.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, that helps a little bit. So I went and looked at those and I saw that they're replacing shingles right now. And it looks like they're doing a good job staying on top of things. Mr. Whalen told me that they take care of things there better than they do most anything else in Salem. And it looked pretty good, actually. So, to their credit. But I have some of the same concerns, and my property runs downhill from 10th Street, way low. When I had a water leak for 2 months, and the plumber estimated 8,000 gallons a month we lost. Yes, I had a pond in my backyard, finally just dried up. What happens with this whole thing, with watershed, as they said, and then I'm down below it all, you know, so there is a concern. Also, you know my issues on water infrastructure. Most of you know Lisa French, that's me. Anyway, I've been talking to the city and they've helped me get things fixed. Much better water quality, I'll give you that, since we've changed the laterals. But everybody wants to keep talking about Truman Trailer Park. You want to hold that up as your poster child. Okay, when I went to the Housing Authority's rules, and you can go read them yourself, I went to Truman Trailer Park today. Most of those people would not qualify to move into this housing project per the rules. Most of them are going to have a drug record. That's a fact. Most of them are going to have a criminal record. Most of them don't have a job. They don't. They're not going to qualify for this. And Mr. Whalen asked me if I don't care about those people who don't have electricity and water. And I went to ask Mr. Whalen, you did, it's on record. And
I didn't say electricity, I said water, Mrs. French.
Okay, I'll go back and check the video, but this is my time. This is my time. Okay, so he wanted me to go check it out, and I did. And then I want to ask you all, you ever been there? You ever been there at 9:30 at night?
Yep.
Okay, when we had the warming station and Pastor James Vance had a church that opened up to people, we fed them, we gave them clothes, we gave them a hot meal, we gave them a place to sleep. A young guy came in, was 4 degrees out. He had on a hoodie. He was so cold he could hardly eat. I was there. So he's shivering. He's eating so fast that it reminds you of a dog. And I'm not trying to be condescending. He was so hungry. And he ate and he ate. And you good people provided the food. You provided water, you provided clothes, blankets, and it didn't matter who you were. You came into Pastor Vance's church, you were fed. You were clothed. We gave out shoes, boots, coats, gloves. That young guy was obviously coming off a fix, or he needed one. It was so obvious. He was jittery, but he was worried. He was worried about the people who lived with him in that trailer park. And he said, we have no water. No water, for sure. He said, they're cold and they're hungry. You know who went there with me that night at 9:30 at night? And you guys all know that Truman Trailer Park? Catherine Dent. Catherine Dent and I rode in a vehicle with this guy who was a little sketch, okay? But he was hungry. He had friends who had children who were cold. We filled the back of her car from all of you who donated water, food, clothing, blankets. You should have seen how happy those people were. Yes, sir, I've been there. And I'm not an alderman. Have any of you? Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
All right, next up to speak, Ms. Sherry Lee.
Different subject altogether. I just want to talk about Healthy Dent County, just bring everybody up to date on the things we've done. I just have our 2023 highlights. We've been, Healthy Dent County started off as the TCRC. I've been here in this facility since 2000. Since 24 years, we've been doing a lot for the community. If you want to bring up that, if you want to, yeah. So anyway, I just want to thank the Alderman for working with us over the past year to negotiate a continuation of our lease. Our lease agreement was first needed when we wrote a grant to make this facility handicap accessible. Then we wrote the second grant to do the gym and everything. And since we don't own the property to get these $2 million grants, we had to have a long-term lease. So that was the purpose of the lease from the very beginning. 10 years before that, we were here doing our stuff and we didn't have a lease. It was just a partnership with the city, which many alderman boards before you guys and mayors, they've always backed us. And I just want to thank you guys for the year-long lease negotiations that we've done. And I hope you continue to support us and what we do for the community out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry.
Next up to speak is Mr. David Kedger.
I'm here for the same reason as Donnie just said. Okay. Sure. I didn't know there was subject about the fitness center in the Healthy Dent counties. I've been coming here for quite a few years, a long time ago when it used to be on that part of it. They switched it around and all of that. The asset that this facility provides is a tremendous blessing for a community like ours. The camaraderie that you see when people come in there, it's different than just a fitness center. It's where people get to know people. You make friends with people that you don't see outside of here. When you come in here, you kind of just feel like you belong with people. And the ages, you know, from the little kids in the gym, but in the fitness center part, you know, high school kids all the way up to 90-year-olds. And it's just, you know, multi-generational, how people can work together, help each other out, talk about other things. You know, I've been through things and I get cards, you know, after my heart and after our grandson and stillborn, and you know, there's this fellowship that exists with this, and so it's a great asset that we have for this community. And that's not just me. I mean, I know other people. Someone's been out for a while, or if they've been through surgeries or stuff like that. There's a card passes around to all the people there, and we sign those cards and send them off to people. So it's more than just a fitness center. It's a place where people can really show a concern and express a care for each other. So that's the advantage that we have in this community.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. We have nothing else for public comment. Next item up would be a request for road closure. So Wendell Decker.
We'd like to be able to shut down 4th Street, Iron Street, and the one there in front of Weber's judicial building on August 17th from noon to somewhere around 5, and seek for permission to be able to use the parking lot behind the city hall to hand out backpacks. This is all for the back to school bash, which we did last year. The local churches, businesses, and a lot of individuals donated and brought together. We did a 3-day feed out there. This year we chose to just do one on August 17th. We'd like to bring Grill Encounter motorcycle team in, which is Brad Bennett. Some may remember Brad. He used to be First Baptist up here. I think he was pastor many years ago. But anyhow, we bring them in, and that way they can use the street right there. They need a hard surface to be able to do that. And so we wanna use that to draw in folks as well and, preach the gospel. Then at the end of that, and then also they're gonna be inviting vendors, anybody that wants to set up around the square, and then we'll have lots of fun and games as well. So we'd like to have permission to do that.
So you're looking for 4th to Iron Street and then the parking lot,
So probably have to go down to whatever that street is where the old jail used to be, well, not many people remember that.
Water, oh, okay, so going on the other side, okay. That's what I was wondering when you said
And
the
then
square, I was trying to
come
figure
right
out.
up in front of the jail there, I guess, the new jail up. I don't know if there's access out of that parking lot, I think there is out of that, to that roadway. But anyway, we wanna set that up where that they can come through and get their backpacks. Their back to school, and all school supplies and stuff in there. That'd be at the close of the evening, so.
I make a motion we accept.
Second.
Pastor Decker's. That is a Saturday, isn't it?
Saturday, yes.
Thank you guys for putting this together.
Yeah.
It's a community, it's not just, I mean, it's unreal how many folks come together in our community, and then, of course, we also, the law enforcement will be there as well. We had some issues last year that we figured out how we might be able to handle that without folks getting cursed and bad mouthed and trying to steal stuff. Anyway.
Or is it time to atmosphere somewhere out there in the world?
Oh, yeah, well, when you got people, things happen.
This time I will call for the vote. Alderman Whalen?
Yes.
Alderman Williams?
Yes.
Alderman Bolerjet? Yes. Sean fell asleep. Alderman Cisco?
Yes.
Alright. Next up, we have Mr.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Linda. Next up, we have the presentation from the potential housing development. Chairman, come on up.
Hand out some.
I got an easel up there if you wanna put that on the easel.
Oh,
It's up to
I
you.
do?
Yeah.
Can you pass this out? I've got about 30 copies here. We've got more people than that here, so you may have to share with your neighbor, if you would please.
Did you already get anybody here? Did you get any of these yet?
It'd be kind of hard to see, but the handout has smaller pictures of this.
Who's from 10th Street? Anybody on 10th Street? Oh, Lord. I don't need this as a quick 10th Street.
We don't live there. We don't live there.
We don't have, I'm sorry, I only made 30 copies.
Give it to somebody that lives there, I think.
Kind
Thank you.
of share with your neighbor if you would, please.
Anybody on 10th Street want an extra copy?
Okay. My name is Sherman Odom, Robert Sherm, and I'm here representing the Salem Housing Authority. Our board consists of 5 members currently. They're Joe Brand, most of you are gonna know these people. Joe Brand, Wanda Henson, Richard Levass Sr., Sherry Lee, and myself. Rose Knerk's term has expired, and because of poor health, she was not going to be appointed again. In fact, I think you have a request, maybe the mayor this evening, to appoint a new member, which will make us 6 on our board. Missy Mahiran Shaw is our executive director, and when we're done here, I've requested the mayor that we throw it open for questions. We're not here to try to pull the wool over anybody's eye. We've got a proposal. It'll either work or it won't work. So your comments will be appreciated, negative or positive, either one. And we will try, Missy or I will try to answer any questions at the end of my presentation. So you'll bear with me. I've got a little bit of information to give you and some information. If you will look at your handout that I passed around, oops, I've got a couple more here. You want first one, so they can have. The first page appears on the website of the Salem Housing Authority, and I'm going to just read a little bit of it real quick and paraphrase maybe just a hair. It says, we're an independently operating agency, chartered under state law. We are an autonomous, not-for-profit public corporation. The organizational structure allows housing authorities to work in conjunction with local governments and agencies to develop long-term housing strategies for communities. Though independently run, housing authorities are required to follow federal regulations. Salem Housing Authority has 90 public housing apartments which are subsidized by HUD through capital funding grants and operating subsidy. Also, the Salem Housing Authority owns and operates a multifamily program called Bright Meadows that has 60 apartments. That's a total of 150 that they operate. That program is funded by HUD through the Missouri Housing Development Commission by Section 8 project-based program and receives a monthly voucher. If you'll turn over to the next page on your handout, it gives a breakdown of the housing units. Again, Salem Housing has 150 units. This includes 36 units for families and 114 units for elderly/disabled families. If you read on down, the family units include 4 one-bedroom units, 18 two-bedroom units, and 14 three-bedroom units. The elderly/disabled units include 32 efficiency units, or we call studios, 80 one-bedroom units, and 2 two-bedroom units. Now, I'm going to jump just a little bit and give you just a little bit of history here on housing in Salem. If you'll turn to your next page, there's a pyramid there. I'm going to tell you a little story, and it involves Sally Burbridge. Sally, when she came on board 4 years ago or so, 5 years ago, it's been a while, as the economic director for Salem County, she presented to the Industrial Development Authority, which, I'll tell my age here, I'm the only remaining charter member of the IDA. So I either went on really young or I'm getting really old, one or the other. Maybe both. In the past, at that time, myself and several other the board members, the IDA or Industrial Development Authority board members, were really concentrated on job creation. We just were so obsessed with job creation, and we were semi-successful, but not extremely successful. And I won't go into our successes particularly, but Sally was quick to point out, and it was an epiphany for me. She said, look at this chart. This is a chart of rural hierarchy needs. And at the bottom of the pyramid is housing. If you don't have housing, you don't have any place for people to live, to have jobs. So it becomes very fundamental. You need housing, and of course, if you go on up through there, you need broadband for internet service, you need educational facilities, you need quality of life, you need medical facilities, You need transportation, which you can barely see on there. And at the very top, when you have all those things come together, you can develop a workforce. The main one at the base, or the whole pyramid topples over, you got to have housing. Four years ago, after having attended several meetings, and we had several meetings at the time that, you know, what can we do to improve Salem? Where can we get jobs? What can we do about housing? And it was one of those deals that I heard a lot more complaints and moaning and groaning than I heard solutions coming around. But one thing that kept coming up, the big complaint was, I drive through Salem, and I go on the back streets, I see all the derelict houses. I see houses that need to be torn down. I see houses that need to be fixed up. And it was just on and on and on. And I posed the question a couple times. I said, how many houses are we talking about? I mean, are we talking about hundreds? Are we talking about 20, 30, 50? The only answer I could get, somewhere between quite a few and a whole bunch. So I said, I had an employee at the time, and I said to him, I said, we're going to do an inventory, and there's about 2,000 houses inside the city limits. And I said, we're going to look at each one of those and do a windshield inspection. Now, how accurate that windshield inspection is, I want to say, I think I've got enough experience that I can look at a house and say, in my opinion, that one would cost more to fix up than it'd be worth when you got it fixed up. In other words, I can spend $30,000, and when I get done, I've got a $20,000 house. So economically, it probably makes more sense to tear it down than it does to fix up. I identified 250 houses inside the city limits that I felt like either needed to be torn down or they needed to be fixed up. There was like 127 houses of that 250 was in West Salem, and 123 of them were in East Salem. So it's pretty well split. Highway 19 just split down equally. One side of town was not particularly any better than the other. I followed that for 4 years. Every year I go around and do kind of a little audit to see what's going on. Good news, folks. Good news. 62 of those 250 houses have had significant improvement done to them. I'm talking about remodel, inside and out. 22 of those have had improvement. They've either been torn down or they burned down, but they're gone, okay? So we've got a total of 84 houses that have been either remodeled or torn down. That's a third of the 250 that I identified. Now, we've had a lot of other houses that have been improved along with it, but they're not the ones that I identified as being in severe need of remodel or being torn down. Now, we made real progress. Do we need to make some more progress? Yes, we need more progress. I've identified 45 out of that remaining of the original 200 that I think need to be torn down. Now, how many of those are vacant of the 45? 45. Every one of them are vacant. They're derelict houses. In my opinion, they need to be torn down. There's 121 that need to be remodeled. How many of those are vacant? 48. Not all of them. We've got people living in a bunch of them, but we've got about 100 houses that are vacant that probably are never going to be remodeled. They're just too expensive to remodel. It's something that we need to think about as the city fathers. You need to be thinking about how are we going to get these houses either torn down and replaced. We do have a housing problem there. How come we managed to get 62 of them refurbished, cleaned up? Think back 2020, 2021. What happened? COVID. And what happened with COVID? We had a big influx of people come in from urban areas. They said that we want to get out of the urban areas, we want to get to the country, we want to go back to where our roots are at. What happened when they got here? There wasn't any place to rent. There was no rent. There was no rentable places. There was very few to buy. Now, free enterprise at its very best, and that's what we all need to be promoting. There are times when the government has to come in, and they're the only ones that are going to be able to take care of some of our problems. Free enterprise is its very best, and notably, I'm going to name off a few individuals: Noah Wells, Caleb and Josh Gidcombe, Brady Adams, Vaughn Adamson, Rex Davis, Don Moore, and others jumped in, bought many of these old houses, plus additional houses that didn't fall into like 250. They remodeled them, and because we had low interest rates in combination with the need, turned around and made a profit. They fixed them up, and suddenly when you go down, drive through the streets now, you say, you know, hey, this part of town looks better than it used to look. It looks pretty dang good, because they fixed up that house. Oh, they fixed up that house too. We've made progress. We need to make lots of more progress. We are still grossly deficient on low cost, suitable housing, affordable housing. Let's call it affordable housing. Now, I gotta toot the horn a little bit for Salem Housing Authority. Salem Housing Authority has been very efficiently run over the years, and it's built up a little cash reserve. When I went on the board, there was some discussion, and I kind of promoted, and we had our other board members picked up on it. We allocated $500,000 of our excess funds to buying up derelict houses, improving them, fixing them up, turning around and selling them, primarily to first-time home buyers. We've done 7, okay? 5 have been fixed up. They look like, and if you tour around, and I can give you a list of them, but if you tour around, you go, wow, that looks like a brand new house. They are almost brand new houses. They've been gutted out. They're really done a fine job on them. 5 of them have been completed, sold, people are living in them. The 6th one was completed about 2 weeks ago, excuse me. It is, and if you get a chance to drive by it, it's at 800 East Center Street. Worth your time to go look at it. It was one of the houses that was on my teardown list. It's one fine looking house. I mean, I'm really proud of it. The 7th one was donated by a family that the gentleman died, and the family said, hey, we want to donate this to the city. The city said, hey, the Salem Housing Authority is much more in position to take care of it than we are. It's been fixed up. It's at 206 Roller Road, 204 Roller Road, 204 Roller Road. Drive by and take a look at it. Salem Housing Authority's done one fine job on it.
We just started it.
It's just started, but it's, what else has been going on? The city came up much under the direction of Sally, and we're going to give Sally the credit. She's done one fine job. The city came up and said, we will allocate $20,000, and we managed to get the IDA, the Industrial Development Authority, to match that with $20,000 of their excess funds for the teardown of derelict houses. 8 houses have been torn down on a cost share basis, 50-50. The house owner, I wouldn't say homeowner, I'd say house owner, pays 50% of the cost, the city pays 50% of the cost. They're torn down, disposed of correctly, go to a landfill, certified landfill. Additional dirt, topsoil is put on, they're scratched up, seeded, strawed, and look like a normal lot in town. Those houses cost about $5,000 to tear down on the average. So they cost $2,500 to the city IDA combination funds, and about $2,500 to the homeowner or the house owner. That program I would really like to see continued. We've got a little bit of a hiccup with it, nothing that can't be solved, and we encourage the city to take a hard look at that and trying to continue with that program. Other groups that enhanced housing in Salem, the joint effort between the Riverways Federal Credit Union and the City of Salem with their Welcome Home program. And I'm not going to say it hadn't had some hiccups. Originally, it was going to be 25 houses. That was a cost sharing of $20,000 grant money coming in, matched with $5,000 of the homeowners' money. They've had trouble getting contractors to bid on the project because the contractors, quite frankly, are swamped with work. There's not any available contractors. So that is going to be curtailed back to 15 houses rather than 25. Still a very positive deal. We've also had programs like, Linda will leave here, Love Thy Neighbor project, 1 week out of the year in either June, July, August. 17 local churches, members come together and work on needed things as far as ramps, roofing, different projects, usually on the exterior of houses that low income or needy people have. Now, during that same time, what else has happened? Commercial buildings. Walnut Bow Motel, a real eyesore at the corner of 1932-72. It's gone. What's there now? McDonald's. International Shoe Company / Hagel building. What happened to it? If you haven't been by, it's gone. This coming week, the remaining part of the old foundation / slab floor is coming up. Going to be replaced by 11,000 square foot Four Rivers Community Health Center. The old filling station at the cut. It burned down, but it's gone. It could be cleaned up a little better, but it's better than it did. The old Tartown building caught on fire. Jeff Seller stepped up, built a state-of-the-art mechanical repair shop. But why am I here tonight? We're talking about housing. The main reason I'm here is the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines, which governs the operation of credit unions and savings and loans in about 10 states, of which Missouri is one of those states. They're all from central United States all the way to Alaska and Hawaii. Each year, they take 10% of their net earnings and reinvest in their communities, in the communities that they have, organizations that they govern. In Salem, that's the Federal Credit Union, Riverways, and that is Progressive Ozark Savings and Loan. This year, they have $3 million grants for housing authorities. I mean, they're written, housing authorities are really the only ones that are going to qualify. The winners of those $3 million grants will be announced in December this year. The applications have to be in by May 1st. It's about 35 days from now or so. So we're on a short time period. The Salem Housing Authority, which is called a sponsor, partners with a member, which would be Progressive Ozark Bank, to submit an application to the bank, which is the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines. These grants are awarded on a point system, and the total points you can accumulate is approximately 100 points. You need to score at least 70 to even be considered. If you don't score 70, you're not even going to be looked at. We got together, the Salem Housing Authority, and we did a really detailed research on how many points can we score. We can score either 67 or maybe 69. That's where the city of Salem comes in. If the piece of property that you're going to build your facility on is donated by either the federal government, the state government, or a local government, it scores you 5 more points. That puts us either at 72 or 74. We think we're in the hunt. But you have to have a piece of property that's donated. You can't buy it, you can't spend your money on it, it has to be donated. We would like, the Salem Housing Authority would like city fathers to consider donating 2/3, and if you look at your handout, it will be the last page. 2/3 of the property, there's a 4.31 acres total property where the old high school used to be, okay? High school / junior high. We would like the city to consider donating 3.21 acres of that property, would leave about 1.1 acres that hopefully the city would consider at some point, if this project would go through, developing what is known in the and Melissa can help me here, they're called pocket parks. They're little 1 acre parks usually scattered in usually residential areas outside of a main park system. Now, we're asking for a letter of commitment. And the letter of commitment would say, if the Salem Housing Authority is awarded the grant, $3 million grant, we would donate the 3.21 acres. If they're not, if they don't get the grant, deal's off. We don't want it. We don't want the donation. So, anyway, that's what we're asking for, is a letter of commitment. We don't want it, we don't want you to sign it over today, tomorrow, or even 6 months from now. We want you to say, if you get the grant, we will donate the piece of property. So what would we do with the piece of property? Salem Housing Authority would build 12 duplexes, or 24 2-bedroom, 1,000 square foot rental units. And you can kind of see on your page, if you see there, how they would be laid out. The total cost, not including the land to build on it, would be a little less than $6 million, of which $3 million of it, or about half of it, would come from the grant. That would make the project economically feasible. To spend $6 million over there, it would never pay off. I don't care how long the loan goes out, it won't pay, folks. You can't charge enough rent, subsidized rent, to make it pay. It's going to take, at a minimum, that. Salem Housing Authority does not want to spend their reserves on another project, only to sit there and milk our excess funds dry. If we can develop a project that will pay for itself, yes, we would like to develop that project. That piece of property, the little pocket park, would go down and join the 12.6 acres that is the Bone Break Center of Nature. Wishful thinking, maybe the city and the Bone Break Center at some point would consider a joint project together. I'm just saying, That's maybe probably wishful thinking, but it's a consideration that might happen. Now, let me brag a little on the Salem Housing Authority. Drive down McGrath Street, or the side streets that feed into McGrath Street, where the Salem Housing Authority's at. Go over and drive down 3rd Street and turn on Vanderbilt Street and drive in to where the other facility for Salem Housing Authority's at. And what do you see? No trash, no cars jacked up on jacks and sitting on jacks, no furniture or refrigerators sitting out on the porches. You see the grass is cut, the lawn's mowed, the shrubs are trimmed, the trees are trimmed, or some of them are being trimmed right now. They've all in the last year and continue to be, some of them are having all new roofs put on them. Are the roofs all the same color, all the same shingles? Yeah, that'd be cheaper. No, they're like driving through a regular community. You got brown roofs, you got black roofs, you got red roofs, you got green roofs. They don't look like a public housing that you would typically think a stereotype looks like. Residents are proud to live there. Missy and her crew, I'm going to pat her on the back here. They run a first-class operation. The Salem Housing Authority is one of the few housing authorities in the state that operates in the black. It has a nice capital reserve. The occupancy rate is near 100%. Only when somebody moves out or dies and has to leave is it down for maybe a couple weeks or 5 days to be refurbished, and there's a long waiting list for people wanting to move in. In fact, it's too long. We need to have additional units to take care of the needs of the people in this area. I feel like, council, that we have a real opportunity to develop additional housing. The old proverbial saying is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you fix housing? One house at a time. Maybe in this case, 24 units at a time. That's my presentation. I'd like to throw it open for any questions that we can answer. And Missy is here, and she is, I'm going to tell you, as far as operational is concerned, she is the expert. Yes.
A lot of what I had said earlier, I live on 11th Street, so I'm not directly impacted, indirectly. Why did you not notify us in that area about what you guys were thinking? We had to hear it through the grapevine. Forgot the other one.
Well, I'll address that. Probably a snafu on our part. We just learned of this about probably 2 weeks ago, and I approached the city council, and they said anything that has to do with personnel or real estate has to be done in closed session. So I volunteered and made a presentation similar to this, maybe not quite as much bigger or anything, but close. So yeah, we probably screwed up.
Okay, I have my other question. I had mentioned about putting it in an area where it's closer for those that don't have cars.
Sure.
This is not a good area.
This is not the 100% best area. I agree 100%.
So have you looked at other areas?
Well, what are you going to look at? We need to get that 5 points. We need to have.
Well, does the city have other?
The city has one other piece owned and controlled by the park board, and that's the old fairground. In fact, I traded the old fairground for a piece of property they had, so I'm quite familiar with it. I cleaned it up. But the park board not very interested in getting rid of that piece of property.
I don't know where that's at. Is that
Oh,
in the
I'm
neighborhood?
It's in a neighborhood, it'd be at, Franklin and what street? Grand, Franklin and Grand. It'd be a-
Neighborhood like 10th Street
Where
and,
Four Rivers is, it's behind that.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a neighborhood like any other neighborhood inside city limits, but it's not available. I mean, you know, there's a piece that would be
But it just,
probably.
it seems like there's a lot of open land around that would be better suitable
It's all
than,
farther, it's all just as far away from,
Yeah, yeah.
from facilities as where we're even located now within the city for our residents. Our current residents have.
I'm not saying it's 100 best location there is, but I'm not saying anything else that there's, I don't know of anything else that's available. And I'm pretty active in land development and they're not out there. You know, there's another piece that's on Center Street where the old mobile home park used to be, but it's not for sale.
there's
You know?
a for sale sign sitting there.
Try buying it.
Well, I don't
I've
want
tried.
it. But then somebody keeps talking about another mobile home property. Why not go there? I don't know where it's at or anything, but not that one.
Back to the donation piece, we need those points to be eligible, to
Oh.
put us up on the criteria higher up.
Yeah.
And where are you gonna get the other, 3 million?
What?
Or look for
It's,
other grants.
it's a, or, yeah, write another grant, but probably it's a borrow situation, but fortunately, the Salem Housing Authority has a real end they can borrow from HUD, the Housing, Urban Housing Development, at a 1 or 1.5% rate for 30 to 40 years. So it becomes feasible. These projects, you know, you can't go out and spend $6 million and make them pay if you have to pay the whole thing. We're looking at probably the cost of this is gonna come in with development of the infrastructure and the streets, probably $175 a square foot. You know, it's expensive. And you can't charge enough rent, particularly on subsidized rent, to ever make that pay unless you get half of it in the form of a grant.
Steve, can I ask a quick question? I think it's critical here. When I read what you read a little while ago about the Salem Housing Authority, it's very confusing to me. It doesn't sound like it's under the city. It sounds like it's a separate entity. So can you guys explain to us what it is and how it works?
When it was developed, it's chartered because it was developed through under state, and it's kind of an arm of the city because the city needed housing. But they actually approved our board members, and that is the only reach they have for only
Otherwise, we're in a autonomous spot.
Yes.
But our board members are appointed by the mayor.
And how come they're appointed by the mayor when you're autonomous?
That's just the way it's set up.
By
That's the way it is.
state regulations or?
Yeah.
So you have to follow state regulations?
Yes.
And they say the city that you service or area, whatever it is, they set up your board? Okay, so that's where it comes from?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was wondering is how this works.
And we are not a 501c3 or any kind of organization like that. We are not for profit.
Yeah.
But not a 501c3.
But not a 501c3.
We are housing authority.
Okay, that helps, I think, so everybody understands what we're talking about and how it falls under. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I am a retired builder, developer. I have developed and built many subdivisions, many multifamily projects. I'd like to say that the Salem Housing Authority has done an excellent job.
Thank you.
And I believe that they will do a good job on this project and whatever they decide to be involved in. But there are some things that are beyond their control, and one of those is the infrastructure around this project area. Now, you know, over the years, I never experienced one development that we weren't required to make substantial investments into the surrounding infrastructure. Sewers, water, streets, everything within, it could be up to a square mile in that regard had to be improved. I'm not saying they were all like that, but every one had requirements that we improve the infrastructure. Do you have plans to do that around this area on 10th Street? And, you know, it would make it more palatable just as one asset here if we knew that everyone was going to benefit from this.
Well, if you improve the infrastructure, everybody in the neighborhood is gonna, gonna benefit from it. But from the standpoint of the development, we would be just like, we would have the same regulations, and I would think the same requirements if I were to build a single-family dwelling. The city runs 5 feet inside the property line with sewer and water. Past that, the Salem Housing Authority would be responsible for street, water, sewer development. Well, but we would be able to connect on. I mean, that's the rules the city set up. It doesn't mean we have, and I understand you get into St. Louis or Decatur, or you may have to go out for a quarter mile improving, and hook on to something. That's not our case. That's not our case in Salem, Missouri. We want to play with the same rules everybody else plays by. And the rules in Salem are: the city runs 5 feet inside the property line, and then past that, it's up to the developer or the landowner to develop.
Okay, I understand that, and that's basically what I'm saying, except that if you're tying on to a substandard infrastructure, which we have here, this infrastructure is in huge trouble right now. Before you do that, at least a portion of the surrounding area needs to be improved. Who will take care of that? How?
Talk to your city leaders.
Because you're adding 24 units to a substandard infrastructure.
Right, streets and all of that need to be taken into consideration, and to move forward on a project like this, it's going to affect as many people as it's going to affect, and is going to add such a burden onto this infrastructure is ludicrous to even consider that. So without the surrounding infrastructure being improved, this makes no sense, except for the builder, of course. That'd be good for you. How'd you know I came from the fair anyway?
I got a son that's building a house right now.
Sure, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you know what the current value of the vouchers is per family unit?
There's a person to ask.
I don't currently know what the 2 bedrooms are, which is potentially what that's going to be, but the 1 bedroom vouchers is $660.
Okay, will you speak louder? We can't.
I don't know what the 2 bedroom vouchers are currently, but the 1 bedroom vouchers are $660. And these would be 2 bedroom vouchers. And I don't have any 2 bedroom vouchers currently, but I know the 1 bedroom vouchers are $660.
Ma'am?
I just wanted to say that if you go, the housing authority, I think, is wonderful. You were talking about property values. The one at McGrath backs into some of our better homes. Their property values have not gone down, that I know of. In fact, it's a very, very nice, one of the nicer neighborhoods, right there by the park. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. No.
Well, on your little drawing here, you've got a street coming right out to my front door, where there's a hill now.
Now, I'll ask the same question I asked those guys. Who's responsible for the drainage that's gonna come off there and come right into my foundation?
I would think the Salem Housing Authority would be responsible.
Well, you would think that. I'm wondering.
And that's why the plan needs to be in
Well, absolutely.
place.
If they say
before-
storm sewer, they're gonna have manhole covers in the top of trees over in there, cause there's a lot of water comes off of that place. So, I mean, you're just throwing us under the bus, Sherman. You really are.
If they can provide a plan that can make it more palatable so that you can be assured that's not gonna happen, then maybe there's a deal to be made. But without that.
No, it's impossible.
It's impossible.
This gentleman here's name.
Yes, I live on Hickory Street. You've heard everybody talk about the infrastructure not being qualified to put another 24 units onto that. And, you know, you say it's the city, I understand that too. But realistically, talking to the city, they can't even fix it now, much less with 24 more units. Now, firsthand experience living on Hickory, the entire 6, 7 houses that are right in a row on Hickory, as you go up the hill to this property, all get sewage water when it rains. I mean, feces coming into their house and overflowing. I have had the city come out, because they're responsible for the 5 feet in. They've come out, I mean, you can check records or something, probably 6 times. I've only lived there 7 years. They've had to come out 6 times just to pump out from the clean out to their system. And they say whatever system is in there is just deteriorating and crumbling. That's why it keeps getting clogged there. So, I mean, even saying, all right, well, then the city has to pick up from here to wherever it goes. It's still, you're still gonna strain all the other houses around it. And that, I just want you to see that as firsthand.
Sure.
The only housing authority houses I know are the ones behind, I guess, Wells Liggers. Is that?
No, that's not us. That's
Okay, well, I was gonna say Little Creek,
BCAI,
but,
out of Viburnum.
okay. But anyway, I just, you know, it's, when every person here says infrastructure, they really mean it. They're not just saying, oh, you know, we need this, we need, no, it's bad. You know, being a resident there, it's bad.
Not too bad to add on to it.
I think this young lady was next.
My husband and I, we bought one of your houses off North Hickory, and we love our house. We're glad that you guys rebuilt it. Where we moved from, it's just going nuts. And well, last night, I was up most of the night cleaning water out of our basement. It's coming up through our floor, and we don't know where it's coming from. And this is like the 3rd time since we bought your guys' house that this has happened. And I've always liked that piece of property. I think it's pretty, and I always, when I saw the pictures on Facebook of the old school, now when I look at that property, I see that old school there. And I know that people that went to school there, they see it too, even though it's gone. And I don't see a subdivision or, you know, apartments being there. I see more like a park, like everybody's saying, because that's where they went to school at. And we bought your guys' house over there because we like the quiet. It's nice and quiet over there. And I agree with what everybody's saying. So, and I thought, well, what are we gonna do? Sell our house? Because we moved to Salem because it's quiet. And that's what we need in our life. So, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks.
Question on this letter that they're gonna give you for saying that they'll donate the land. Once they give you that, if they give you this grant, you're building it regardless, right? I mean, there's no turning back after that. You get the grant, they give you the letter, you get the grant, you're building it regardless of what anybody here says.
I would never say never. You know,
No,
that would be an intent, yes.
Regardless.
So there wouldn't be a vote by the board it would be this letter of intent, and they wouldn't have to vote then to say, we are legally, we are donating this land.
If we get the grant.
But what I'm saying,
That's-
letter of
that-
intent is not legally the same as, I don't know what the legal term is, to give somebody the deed to the land.
Well, the intent would be if the Salem Housing Authority got the grant, that they would deed the property over.
And they would be subject to that letter that they put in. So regardless if they decided to build that and it tore the whole place to pieces, we're still obligated to let them have that land. That's what I'm trying to get at.
This whole thing seems way too rushed, and I realize you guys are under a deadline, May 1st, I get that, and I'm not saying we don't need housing. I am not
This
saying we
was
have
known
all.
about
I've seen
before.
it, I've been driving around since the last Alderman meeting, I've been looking, I get it. But this seems terribly, terribly rushed and ill-conceived, especially for those of us who will be very directly affected by it, my property. And I'm not talking about lowering the value of it, I'm talking about the runoff, there's a lot to consider, and this is being really fast. I understand you want those 5 points. I want my yard to not be a pond.
Well, we've dealt with infrastructure problems for 2 years now, and the basic problem hasn't been corrected. We don't wanna deal with it another 2 years and have it get worse. I say the city should fix this infrastructure, and it should be part of the plan that would be approved for your development here. I'm sure that would be an asset to the community, but not on a failing infrastructure.
But can the city afford it?
Question right back there.
I don't wanna beat a dead horse, I just wanna say that I literally did have sewage in my kitchen sinks last night. And it's disgusting, and all of us in this area had brown water, today. So, everybody is exactly right on when they're saying this is a real problem. And like that gentleman said, how can we add more to this already terrible problem?
Maybe give the city to fix it.
How can we fix it?
We should be asking the city right now.
That's right.
What their intent is. Have you guys thought about this at all?
lady's first, right?
I don't know who answers this, but who gives if this goes through, who gives the authority to donate that property? You guys do that.
One more question here, and we're not gonna take up the whole night.
You said you're an arm of the city, correct?
No, not. Our board members are appointed by the mayor. That we are an autonomous group. We function separate from the city, although the way the charter was written up, the mayor has the input to appoint board members.
Okay, so this $3 million loan that you have to get, who is solely responsible for that? Is the city responsible or the Salem Housing?
Authority.
So if that loan happens to default
Yep.
in the future,
It's
the
not
city
the
has no liability in it.
No liability.
Okay.
That's correct. I'm gonna cut it off here.
Okay.
We appreciate your time, and we hope that you will give this serious consideration.
Thank you for your presentation.
They're still gonna vote on it. They're still gonna vote on it. Well, yeah, they're gonna vote to say that they're gonna give them a letter.
Yeah. Didn't he say that they were an arm of the city? Yeah. Then I asked him, you said you're no.
One thing about it, when you get in, one thing about it, when you get in,
Have you heard about I'm ready to leave.
You're just here for
I can't video it. Are you the one sitting next to me? Well, get this under control, Mr. Mayor, like you control everything else.
Yeah, he's trying to get his ass over there and get more votes.
Jesus, Martha. Oh, excuse me, I'm on video.
But yours is backup, so it's fine.
Yeah, he's right.
Chief Chase. Chief, did you have Brady step in?
He's right there.
Thank you for your, your quick reactions. All right. Call this meeting back to order. I want to call this meeting back to order. The next item up that we have is the University of Missouri Extension for Dade County. Hello.
I have 80 slides that will be going.
All right. You have like equipment.
That's our annual report for 2023. We appreciate your support from last year, and that highlights all the work that we've done. A lot of work was done in Denton County over this past year. And we are making plans for the coming year and working on that. We did lose our beloved Amy Glenn. She moved on to do other things, and so we're in the process of rehiring for that position. So if you guys know any qualified candidates, please send them our way. Do you guys have any questions or anything?
I know, you just have Ray back here, all like that.
I know. Ray's here. Ray, do you have anything you want to talk about with your stuff? One thing Ray and I have been working on over with S&T that covers Denton County is a rural infrastructure focus group, research group. And so in the fall, keep your ears open. We will probably be advertising for people from the Denton County area to come over to the S&T program for a one-day thing to be able to talk about rural infrastructure and what the needs are out in the counties. That grant was for Dent, Pulaski, Texas, and Phelps. And so it's just basically a research grant.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you guys for everything you do for our city and our county.
Well, feel free to reach out if you ever see a specific need. We're just happy to try to assist any way we can.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item up, we have appointment from the housing authority to letter. Oh, I just want to put that. Go ahead.
Whichever.
We'll do our financial sheets first.
Do you want those in other reports?
Yeah, take them out of here.
Okay, so this is an update on our sales tax revenue. This has been what we have received through March. So March tax revenues are down 5% from March of last year. That comparison excludes the additional 1% sales taxes that was not in last year's number. Year to date, we are down 1% compared to the same time frame as last year. General fund sales tax revenue through March, we have brought in just over 1.6 million, with 485,000 of that being the additional sales tax. On Parks and Rec, sales tax revenue year to date through March has brought in around 429,000. In capital improvement, we brought in 571,000. Next slide, unless you have questions. And this is a look at our utility usage and revenues, and this is through February. Electric kilowatt hours sold is around 35.7 million kilowatt hours. That is down 4% compared to the same time frame as last year. That equates to a little over 5 million in revenues. Our purchase of power, we have paid out almost 3.2 million year to date. That's about 43,000 less than the same time frame as last year. Water consumption, we fill just over 85 million gallons. That is down 12% compared to the same time frame as last year, and that equates to about 545,000 in water revenues. And sewer consumption billed, we billed out around 77.5 million gallons. That is down 7% compared to the same time as last year. That equates to about 716,000 in revenues. And then this page is a list of all of our funds the city has. It shows the beginning balances as of July 1st. Then the revenues and expenses and any transfers between funds. And the last column shows the ending balance in new funds as of February 29th of this year, with a total balance at the very end is 9.5 million combined of all funds.
We're in the red on economic development.
Well, because there isn't an independent revenue stream.
Yeah, okay.
So it's dependent on transfers from general fund.
Okay, that's how I was making sure. We just don't have the transfers.
And some of that we are waiting on some grant revenue to come in.
Okay.
Okay, and this last page shows the total fund revenues and expenditures compared to what we have budgeted. So far revenues, we have brought in 58% of what we have budgeted, and then we have expended 52% of what we have budgeted. We are 67% through the budget year. That's all I have, unless you have questions.
No.
John or Taylor?
No, I don't.
Alright. So now I can move on. Next up would be the Housing Authority Board appointment. Ms. Rose Kennard will be resigning, or not resigning, but she's outserved her term. She will not be running for reappointment, so the Housing Authority has made the recommendation to the board for Michael Rushing to serve in her place for a 4-year term.
I would move to approve Michael Rushing to join the Salem Housing Authority.
Second.
I'll second.
Mm-hmm.
You'll clear, John. You already done been beat for that one. At the internet leg. This time I'll call for the vote. Alderwoman Cisco?
Yes.
Alderman Williams?
Yes.
Alderman Whalen?
Yes.
And Alderman Boller-Jack? Yes. Okay. Next item up will be the first and second reading of bill number 3607. Yeah, first reading. No, it'll be first. We'll have first and second. Okay, so go ahead with the first reading, please.
First reading by caption only.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign a second supplemental agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for additional transportation enhancement funds for a new ADA compliant sidewalk serving downtown business along 4th Street. Permission for second reading?
Yes, please.
By caption, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign a second supplemental agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for additional transportation enhancement funds for a new ADA compliant sidewalk serving downtown businesses along 4th Street.
Thank you. At this time, does anybody want to, I'll open it up for discussion.
Well, it's just as the project description and facts say, because of the increased cost of production, the bids came in higher than anticipated, so we're getting some of that. So So this is the grant making additional funding available for us.
Correct.
So instead of us paying the cost because the construction costs have gone up, they've allotted for extra funds and we have to approve and say, yes, we would like those extra funds. I don't see why we wouldn't. So I would make I move to, what was this, bill number? 3607. I move to approve bill number 3607.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any other further discussion? I will call for the vote. Alderman Williams.
Yes.
Alderman Whalen.
Yes.
Alderman Bolerjack.
Yes.
And Alderwoman Cisco.
Yes.
Next up is the bid and proposals for the sewer system, revocation loan request. Everything. Is that it?
Revenue bond.
Revenue. Revocation.
Sewer system revenue.
Okay. I've been up for a while.
Casey, do you wanna talk on this one?
Sure. I did mention a few months ago, and I also have discussed in the utility committee meeting, that our engineer, Archer Elgin, is in the design phase of the wastewater treatment plant, the upgrades that we must complete. So they're in phase 2 right now. The upgrades are divided into 2 phases, which is 2A and phase 2B. Phase 2A costs are covered by the ARPA grant that the city received, but phase 2B will be paid for out of the sewer bond that was approved by citizens in April of last year. The design work for both phases are done at the same time. So we are incurring charges for phase 2B, also along with phase 2A. We are in the process of getting approvals through the state revolving fund, which is a low-cost financing option for the city. Unfortunately, these funds will not be available to us until later this year or sometime early next year. So we have no way of paying for these costs that we are incurring for the design work for phase 2B. That is why we are looking into the short-term financing option. The funding through the SRF state revolving fund will pay off the principal of the bonds once it's finalized, but until it's finalized, we have to, have funds to be able to pay for this. And I do want to say on that state revolving fund loan, it's a long-term borrowing, and the rates are usually well under 5%. So even though I think the bid came in at 3.8 something, we will be able to refinance that at 3.89.
Yeah, so this is gonna be paid back, since it's short term, it's just 3 payments here that are detailed there for about 18,000, somewhere in there.
Depending when we refinance.
Okay.
Yes, we had 3 bids for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was advertised through the formal request for proposal system. I do wanna note, I'm sure you all read it, we did, Stacy and I talked about it, and we did put in some other options about funding. That was a question that came up in the utility committee meeting. So one of them was, so what about, can we do a loan from some of our other funds? And you all are well aware, over the past year and a half, we've been doing some real rebuilding of our reserves and of those funds. And at this point, I'm not comfortable that those are healthy enough yet to do a loan from those other. Because we were looking at how do we avoid the financing costs.
Yeah.
And so that would be an option. But if we do, then the one fund, where is it?
I believe the balance is 500,000.
Right, we would cut it dramatically.
Yeah.
And it just, if something were to happen, then we're left kind of exposed, so to speak. We're having to identify quick alternative financing that's gonna be more costly if we were to have something happen. The other one is from the COPs. So the COP, we still have an amount here left.
Yeah.
This was from, phase one, but we have earmarked that, staff has, for doing some INI, the inflow and infiltration work. Specifically, we had a very specific project identified for this. Again, if we use it for the short-term financing, we don't have a way to replace it to do the INI. And as we've talked, INI is a big issue, it was talked about tonight with our sewer system, and so we need to make sure that we kind of stay that course if we can. So those were the options, and we wanted you to be aware of them.
Yeah. Yeah, basically is I'm kind of catching here. So we could borrow from that for phase 2B, but for about a year's worth of time, we're going to be susceptible to if we have any major breaks, we would not be able to fix them without a very quick turnaround, and which would probably be more costly to the city at that if we did have that. So it puts us at risk. And then the other option was taken from the COP payments, which I would rather have the INI done personally. Coming from looking at utilities for the last 2 years, I think INI is a serious thing we want to take a look into. We've done some good work there, but
there's always more.
There's always more.
Less infiltration, the less you have to treat.
So basically, this is $20,000 is kind of what we're looking at to keep us secure. We can eliminate possibly that $20,000, but it would put us at further risk if we have a major issue in the next year.
Correct.
A year, couple months. That's what I'm seeing. I don't feel comfortable putting the city at risk. I would move to approve moving forward with Town and Country Bank to purchase the city revenue bonds for the short term.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? I will call for the vote. Alderman Williams?
Yes.
Alderman Whalen?
Yes.
Alderwoman Cisco?
Yes.
And Alderman Bolerjet? Will abstain from voting. Thank you. Progressive.
Oh, it's progressive.
Next up, we have the TAP grant bid approval. Please.
First reading by caption only.
Yes.
An ordinance amending the amounts of utility deposits for the city of Salem, Missouri. Let me read it. Oh, in the 3604.
No, this isn't a reading. Sorry, this is a bid approval.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yes.
Sorry.
One is ready to go.
I'm ready.
Got paperwork flying everywhere.
Okay. So this is another bid approval. This is the TAPS grant. So this isn't the grant bid approval. This is the actual construction bids. Right. And so we did receive two. Let me back up. So bids were advertised in the Salem News beginning January 23rd. We actually did final bid openings on February 16th. We had 2 responsive bids to that. And you see in your packet, there's the bid breakouts. And so all the details are in the further than packet, sorry. And I won't go over in great detail all of it. You'll see there's a lot of breakouts here for numbers and parts, different pieces of the project itself. Staff's recommendation, as well as our engineers, is to move forward with a contract with Donald Magi Inc. for the project.
And you were saying we reached out to these companies, the lawn services. So these other companies. So we have Donald Mag and we have Hessling. We personally reached out to. The city reached out to these other companies.
What do you mean reached out to?
So my question, you said you have no bid on these others.
Okay, so these others requested all of the specs, all of the details for the project.
So they took a look at it and then chose not to.
Correct.
And then we also advertised. Okay. That's all. I was just trying to get clarification if we contacted them or if they contacted us.
They contacted us.
Okay.
quite a difference in the two bids.
Yeah, but they're, it is, but it's all detailed out in that one log. I don't know.
Where's the difference in it?
Well, if you look, yeah, you keep going, it's that, those numbers there. You got all that? Yeah, I was reading that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, with the extension figure, there's 42,656, they're 59,839. That's interesting. The next one. Just like, yeah, they're just line for line. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really detailed. And even going down, so, you know, like demoing the brick planters and how much that costs. This is a tertiary thing, I know it's probably not the time to ask, but like, we talked to the Salem gardening, like in terms of
Yes.
design and all that?
Yes.
Okay. I know.
I won't say that final plans are set, but yes, they're aware of the project and
Okay, good.
they have actually been looking at, other planter designs and options.
Awesome. So, yeah, I really like those. It's been a long time coming to actually finally receive bids. I'm ready to see construction get done. I think, you know, you can come and haul over some of it, but I think that's a pretty reasonable price. I move to approve the bid from Don Maggie Incorporated in the amount of $496,692.04.
Do I have a second? I'll second. Is there any further discussion? No. I will call for the vote. Alderman Williams?
Yes.
Alderman Bowerjack? Yes. And Alderman Whalen?
Yes.
Yes, she did.
Yeah,
She was more.
Yeah, she's sick. Next item up is the first reading, bill number 3604.
So I guess technically this could be the second, but this is actually the first by caption. An ordinance amending the amounts of utility deposits for the city of Salem, Missouri.
So this item, Alderwoman Cisco requested at the last meeting that this go back before utility committee for review. So they did address this, and obviously Alderman Williams can speak to this more. But this was taking it back to a flat amount. That amount though was increased to 300. And I kind of reached out to Alderman Williams and Alderwoman Cisco about one thing we didn't discuss in utility committee was how that broke out. They approved a lump sum and with all the conversation going on that evening, I didn't think to ask them, how do we want this broken out? This is based on how it was previously, with the difference that we added a sewer deposit in there, which we did not have before. So that change is basically a flat 300, or if you have a letter of good standing from the previous utility provider, then it's 200. And that shows the breakouts.
So here's what I see and what I've kind of taken a look at. I did sort of study myself, looking at utility rates. I think I sent you that email and that information. So what ended up at the meeting was Alderman Cisco and a few other real estate agents, as well as some other people, came in and decided to have a talk with us about how some people were being charged an exorbitant amount for utility deposits, somewhere in the order of somebody had like $500.
But isn't that based off an average of what the residence was doing?
Yes.
Correct. So of the previous 12 months, they averaged the utility bills over those previous 12 months, and that would be the deposit. However, this person was going from 4 or I think 5 people in the household to just him and his wife, not using as many utilities. One of my I tried not to sway as I don't have a vote on that committee. So, however, what I did see putting together is we're not the only one having these utility deposit issues. There are very few that go down into the $200 range. You see other electric companies charging twice the average utility bill for the previous 12 months or 2 years. That is what they charge. They look at that, multiply it by 2, and that's the new utility deposit. My other argument here is that this is a deposit. It's not exactly money that like that we are taking away from them. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it may be high, but one of the things and one of the reasons we changed it just recently was because we were having people forfeit. Yeah, they were forfeiting the house and going away without paying their utility bill with $300-400 after paying maybe $200 in a utility fee, and the city had to eat that cost. So this does, in my opinion, it can put the city at risk because we see that far more often than we do the other, where it's like a charge that never gets back to a person, and that is a deposit. So when you do leave that dwelling or you leave Salem or anything, you do get that money back. It goes towards your last payment. I might entertain, in my opinion, an idea where after a couple of years of staying, if they are a long-term resident, then we could see that money, like with good standing after a year or 2, give half of the deposit back if it was a lot.
Actually, our current policy
Oh, it does.
is that after 2 years of good standing, any customer can request their full deposit back.
I missed that in our policy, and that's my so I think as it stands, we have a good system. I understand that people come in and they see a high utility deposit, and that's a little dissuadement, but it's at the same time, it protects the citizens, and you can get that deposit back after 2 years.
So what brought the concerns up is when you had first-time homeowner buyers, they felt that they reevaluated it because they felt like they were being punished for something that renters did. And they thought it was extremely high because they had utility services before, but some of the real estate agents felt that it was kind of harder to help encourage people to move here to sell homes if you have like they're already paying up a whole lot of upfront cost to begin with, that the utility deposit it's just basically common.
But as I said, this is not unlike anywhere else. You have I believe this. I'm trying to pull up the comparison stuff now, but I'm having trouble trying to get to it. If I recall, the city of Waynesville had somewhere around 350. A lot of the ones, especially like Ameren, their deposit was the 2 times, but that is electric only. A lot of cities don't provide every service. We're some of the few that do. You have like Licking, which has inter-county electric, and then they provide water and sewer. However, their water and sewer is still like $250 for those services. It was fairly high. So that's what I see.
The flip side to the argument about potentially penalizing someone for past tenants or homeowners, the flip side to that is if it's a home that isn't well insulated or hasn't been well kept up over the years, then that's going to be realistic to that home no matter who's in that. So there's some different ways to look at it.
Sal, do you have a amount of what we came up shortfall from deposits, then just forfeit the deposit, and then we eat the balance of the last bill?
I don't have an amount off the top of my head. I mean,
is it significant?
It's relatively significant.
Okay.
What was the last calculation I think we did for the base of utilities that the bill was just dumped off back off onto the city was I think it was at least I think it was around 1.3 million.
Well, but that's the total that we need to get turned over to collection.
Yeah, that's the,
Yes.
yeah,
That's
the-
1.3, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we.
And we're trying to alleviate that with the deposit.
Exactly. And like I said, if they are there for 2 years, they can get it back.
Yeah, yes,
So
it's
I,
fair.
like, I, when we talked about it, I thought it was fair. When we, at the utility meeting, I was trying not to sway it. However, I did, give some information. But personally, I think our current policy puts the city in a better position.
So the current policy, not this one.
Not-
Again, you guys aren't voting, I just need to know moving forward,
Mhm.
what do I present to you guys next meeting? This is what's before you.
I prefer the original one that we worked up on just for the mere
Okay.
financial situation the city's in right now. I just don't think we can eat any more dollars. Yeah, I'm just one voice.
Sean, do you have anything you wanna add to this?
I don't want to discourage people from not purchasing a home or being able to rent in the city because of potentially a high deposit for utilities. Especially for home buyers, they have a lot of closing costs and they got a lot of upfront costs to purchase a home. So I don't want to discourage people from that. But I also understand the other side as well, where the city can't afford to lose funding because people pay their last utility bill or food. So for those, we can send them to collections, right?
What's your recovery rate on your collection? You
Well-
get all of them back?
We don't have that contract approved yet.
Yeah, we don't have a contract for collection
I don't
agency yet.
think it'll be near whole.
So if we were to get that going, that would help solve that issue, right?
Yeah.
It would help.
And I would say one of the primary people that they brought up having a very high utility rate, like while is I don't think that's the typical amount because they brought up somebody who had somewhere around 550 for their average bill. Like I don't think that's typical. That is a lot of that is like a commercial institute of power usage and water usage. So when you got like 500, what are you doing in there?
Heat pump was out during that cold snap.
Oh,
From
yeah,
250 to
that's-
500.
Okay, well the heat
I
pump
came
was
up
out.
with a test, and complained about it, but the kilowatts were right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but heat pumps out, I get it.
Couldn't get the motors.
That's also not your past 12 bills.
No.
Right. We ready to move on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Next up, bill number 3605.
By caption,
Yes, please.
an ordinance amending provisions for delivery of utility bills and statements in the codes of the city of Salem, Missouri.
So this one is about being able to email utility bills. So our test was successful this last month, and so we're ready to go as soon as we got our code updated. Alright? Yep.
Next up, bill number 3606.
By caption, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor of the city of Salem, Missouri, on behalf of said city to enter into a power supply and administration agreement among Missouri Joint Municipal Electric Utility Commission, doing business as Missouri Electric Commission, and the city as a member of the Mid-Missouri Municipal Power Energy Pool.
Okay, so this item went before utility committee also. They did vote to recommend approval. This is a change to our purchase of power agreement with the Missouri Utility Commission. And the major changes to the agreement are contained in the 4 pages of this memo that are here in the packet. The intent of this, if you look at this kind of exhibit A here, the intent of these changes are to strengthen the bond rating of MPUA when we're talking about purchasing, where did that come from?
Or down there on the bottom right, the notifications, you should be able to click off.
Click off where?
Well, just click the, where it says no.
Memo.
Well, like, click your PDS. Click there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the intent here is that it will strengthen the bond rating so that when we move forward with, purchasing shares in electrical generation plants, that we will have a better financing position and will decrease the cost. So this page here, you'll see Salem all the way down. This is the potential cost savings and financing costs with if implementing the changes to this agreement. Now, the major changes that extends from a 1-year notice to a 5-year notice to get out of the contract. Right. Again, but again, this is to purchase on behalf of Salem as a member of the Mid-Missouri Power Energy Pool ownership shares. And so the intent behind having ownership shares is that you have less volatility then with the open market, and less volatility if you're negotiating shorter term purchasing contracts. That ownership gives you a better position to have some lower, more stable rates. Now, this doesn't mean that automatically rates are gonna decrease, but it gives us some stabilization in what those future rates are for the community. Okay. Now, this is just one piece of our total power that we use within any given amount of time. The major changes to the contract are actually summarized on this page on Exhibit B, and you'll see they're all contained, not a huge number of them, and so.
I can interject, like, a lot of them were things that were kind of just definitions. You know, if you look at the 13 changes, the major changes that you have, updated date to 2024.
Right.
You know, changing extra to extraordinary, I took a look into that. I did some light reading on this. It was very fun. I appreciate that. But, you know, correcting cross-reference in sections in the agreement, it's, you know, correcting a defined term. A lot of these are just correcting definitions. Which I don't see, I didn't see an issue with, and after reading through it, it was a fairly straightforward agreement.
Well, I would want to clarify that where it says clarifies that a city can terminate the agreement on 5 years' notice. The actual agreement that's in place requires a 5 years' notice. They literally, that portion there, when you're looking at 2.3, change the word "the cities" to "a city" to clarify that an individual city can terminate. And then it struck the last part, given after execution of this agreement, which was in the original agreement. It struck that verbiage because the agreement's already been executed as far as the old provision. So when they were proposing it the first time, also within it, like, there's a couple of things when you go through. If you look at the, let me scroll down. For instance, in 3.1, the changes are agrees to provide, agrees to utilize instead of shall take and pay for. So it's a lot of superfluous. That's the change to clear it up just a little bit. There are some changes though with regard to direct costs and replacement costs. Under the agreement previously, you were already required to pay for full requirement service. It changed a little bit of the verbiage to reflect direct costs. Now the extraordinary expense, they don't define it within the agreement. Common definition is it's a cost that's above and beyond. It's not something that is a usual cost that occurs.
Yeah, I was a little bit that I kind of understood it as that, because like extra cost means anything above, and extraordinary means anything above that would be extraordinary. Obviously extraordinary.
One of the key changes, if you look at section 6.3, where it talks about all direct costs, where it's talking about replacement costs previously under the previous agreement, if you had to have replacement costs, NEC would be required to pay or credit, and they struck the pay or, so there's a credit portion of it, where if you have replacement costs, then it's credited, but then if you go further down, basically that cost is included in the direct costs, and so it would be divvied up proportional per city. So if a city that's within the group fails to, it has to have replacement costs because for whatever reason, NEC doesn't provide the power, except in certain instances, there's a cost that's shared by everyone. And so that's included in, so no longer are they going to pay you, let's say if the city of Salem, doesn't receive power during a period of time for an outage, let's say force majeure or something like that, then instead of NEC paying you, they're going to credit it towards you, but then all the other cities are going to share in the cost of that replacement cost if you have to have replacement costs for it.
Okay.
But the majority of the changes are basically cleaning up language from the first.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, I've read this contract clause, and the only thing that I never cared for is that we had to give them a 5-year notice, but they only have to give us, what, 90 days?
90 days.
Yes.
Well, that was an issue in the original contract. We were one of the few cities that raised a bunch of issues as far as going through the pieces. And so it was something that ultimately they gave a little bit of, if I remember, I think the original agreement, it's like 30.
Yeah, it was
30 days and
short.
It at 90 days.
And that had to do with if the city was in default under their obligations. And so most of the things that they put in here to clean up language doesn't touch on any of the issues that we raised in the original contract.
Alright. Next item up is the second reading. Bill number 3601.
Bill 3601 by caption,
Yes, please.
an ordinance authorizing the sale of a piece of real property.
So this is the piece on Second Street that was donated to the city. I think we discussed it last time. Staff did review this parcel and deemed that there was no municipal, no city use that we could determine. And so our recommendation was that we basically surplus this property and make it available for sale via sealed bids, or otherwise dispose of this piece. And again, just a quick statement, this piece was a piece that was donated to the city through the demolition program that was developed a few years back, so.
It really is too small, I drove by it. I would move to approve ordinance number 3601, the surplus of property addressed at 306 East Second Street.
I'll second the motion. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. Alderman Williams.
Yes.
Alderman Whalen.
Yes.
Alderman Bolerdick.
Yes.
Next up, second reading of bill number 3602.
Bill number 3602 by caption,
Yes, please.
an ordinance authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute a lease agreement with the council for a Healthy Dick County for a lease of certain city-owned property.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'll say something. I really do appreciate what you guys do here. There's a lot that does bring benefit to the citizens here. It's a place, it's a forum. We have city, obviously we're here now. I mean, it's hard to say that we don't get any sort of benefit out of this building. I am happy that we were able to come to an agreement. I know it's been a year to a year and a half of back and forth, but it cleans up the language and better moving forward and everything is more defined instead of it being a little bit more vague. But as you heard from other people here, I do think, you know, what we have, you know, there's give and takes with this on both sides. But I do think the gives that we have given still are reconciled by the benefits that the citizens and the people of Salem do receive from having this space. So.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, the services that Dane County provides and the improvements they've done to the facility over the last 10+ years, I believe has greatly benefited our community. And, you know, as Alderman Williams was saying, you know, the city has some functions in this building as well. And with the city parks office, or the director's office being there, hosting city league games, there in the gym in the back, and then also, you know, the meetings that we have here one tonight. I do think it's fair that we share covering a portion of the cost of the utilities. I know that's been a concern brought up in the past. But I do believe that this agreement serves the best interest of both parties involved, and I believe that it enhances the overall well-being of our community.
Anything you would like to add?
No. I'm ready to make a motion.
All right.
Make a motion to accept it.
Second.
If there's no further discussion, I will call for the vote. Alderman Whalen?
Yes.
Alderman Williams?
Yes.
Alderman Bolerjack?
Yes.
Thank you. Next item up is reports of city officials, boards, and committees. Mr. Herbert, you're up first, man.
Well, first of all, I would just like to say welcome and thank you for being with us, Steve. Steve Payne is our new Public Works Director, so we'll start getting him initiated tomorrow.
Okay.
But really kind of sharing with him some of the processes and how we do things and getting him set up, so looking forward to that. Yeah, I think I don't really have many other reports tonight. We had a lot of business, a lot of things on the agenda this evening, and I appreciate you all hanging in there and working through them.
All right. Well, next up will be my report. The Salem Community Center, which here at the Armory is having a non-newlywed game fundraiser Friday, April 12th at their faculty event room. Doors open at 5:30. Game starts at 6:30. Tickets are available at the Salem Community Center. They'll have a concession cash bar available. Next item up is the Dent County Commons will be having a spring flea market at their location on April 6th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There'll be food and live music. You can also sign up to be a vendor if you wish by contacting Benny at 573-729-5924. There's no admission charge and there's free parking. Next item up I got is New Harmony Church is having a benefit auction fundraiser for Tony Gorman, who was diagnosed with cancer. It will be at New Harmony Church on March 23rd. Get on to my next one. Salem United Methodist Church is having their annual spring luncheon on Saturday, April 13th at 801 East Scenic River Boulevard, starting at 11:30 a.m. Tickets available until April 7th. Must have ticket to attend. Contact Roma Jones at 573-247-0077, featuring a musical rendering by Sam Becker. Last item up, I attended the MRPC Solid Waste Management annual meeting on March 19th. I learned we've been trying to partner as such with the county and MRPC to do some type of recycling back here in Salem. They let me know that DNR has hired new people. They're adjusting rules and regulations to what future recycling grants pertain to, which we have no idea which they are. They asked each district to create a plan. Each district does not know what that plan is yet. We won't know until they host more future meetings with their new staff at DNR. So hopefully in the near future we'll be able to continue with that and looking into seeing what type of recycling program grants that are out there that would be more beneficial to our community in general. I'd like to see, as far as you see, I don't know if anybody's familiar with, they have sectional roll-off large containers, which a lot of major cities use. That's what I'm looking at. I mean to speak to Commissioner Larson to see what we need to do to start the glass recycling. They were supposed to set a glass recycling container, hopefully here inside the city, hopefully over by the Scenic River Shelter Workshop. That hasn't taken place yet, but we were hoping to get something started there. I don't know what else that they needed, if they need anything from the city, because we would like to see like at least glass recycling start up for not just county residents, but hopefully city residents as well. Last thing that I have is next week, election time, April 2nd. It's one of our few freedoms that we have left in this country, and I'd encourage everybody to get out and exercise your vote. Other than that, the next item up, the next person up, I really don't know who to open this up to. We've already had Joe's resignation from interim public works, and then Steve.
You ready to give the first
Joe? Yeah, you ready to give that unofficial report there, Steve? We'll let Joe.
I think I'll let Joe do this.
All right.
Just a second, I get to my notes. Right, so with the street department, they're continuing to work on patching potholes, working on dig outs. Weather permitting, this week has not been optimal for that. They've been doing ditches, cleaning out ditches, working on, I say working on, not necessarily working on, making sure that the street sweeper is up and functioning like it needs to be. That just means a good thorough cleaning. They check the brushes, check just to make sure that it's working like it needs to be. Let's see, they worked with the electric department on tree removal for a work order on Jackson. Tree and yard waste, picked up tree and yard waste on 3rd Street, picked up brush, put in new signs at the landfill, worked in conjunction with the mechanics department, and we have our grates covering the clarifier outflow. That had been a concern in times past because they were large enough that animals could get in there or something could get in there, so we didn't want any additional clogs in that. And so those are completed. Oh, right now, this is so small. Gosh. Mechanic also worked on a couple vehicles this week. They installed a new windsock at the airport. Installed a camera on the maintenance department service truck. Did some filter work on the hydrovac truck. We've been utilizing it very regularly, and I'll get into that some more with as far as the sewer and water is concerned. They did some work on one of the zero-turn mowers for the cemetery. And clean the shop, that part. Okay. So, sewer and water completed a connection, a new sewer line connection at Dilworth and Center, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider the depth of that dig, we were able to use the hydrovac truck. We did not have to have additional shoring equipment, which is a cost savings to the city because it's expensive to rent that. They were able to locate that very quickly with a very small overdig, and so there was no threat to any of the workers. Everybody came out of that very well. Met with Josh from Wastewater Treatment on the recent weather event and how he's managing the what they call the OO2 outflow basin. It's basically when we have a large storm, that water will gather in an overflow basin, and so we have to regulate how that goes out, and so he's doing phenomenal on that, doing very well. The crew's worked on weather-related sewer issues and clogs. The new employee for the sewer and water department, she's been working with Will on, and myself on developing a process manual for like meter well diagnostics, like a certain process to follow. And so we're thinking that we're working out a lot of little kinks and issues, so we're getting more accurate reads and hoping to get to a point of a 2% or lower on our read. And that seems to be, with just a concentrated effort, we're getting there. Met with Woodard Turan, which is a wastewater engineering company, to conduct a peer review for the wastewater treatment plant for the Phase 2A and Phase 2B. They're a company that specializes in wastewater treatment. That's the only thing that they do. They currently take care of all the wastewater treatment for the mines they'll run in every subsidiary that they have. Their peer review is going to be a study on our current, it's basically a second opinion on Arthur Elgin's engineering scale, scope, all of the things that they've provided put forward. And so what comes of that is they keep 600 engineers on staff, and they have personnel designated to every aspect of wastewater treatment. And that is the only thing that they do. So as a part of that, if when they review a project, they find that funding runs short, they have a department that works in grant writing to assist cities. And I don't know how that turns out. I can only speculate. But from everything I've heard, excuse me, about the company is that they do an extremely good job. That in a town the size of Salem fits perfectly in their target market because of the median income, household income for the area is in a perfect range for federal grants to assist with wastewater treatment plant development and upgrades. Construction department completed the curb and guttering on Carty Street. That is completely done, and so they'll go back through this week as the weather allows, and then they will do the backfilling. Brent's got the patch for the asphalt to fill that in, so it should look like it was never there. Electric department completed the replacement of the Cat 6 cable at the admin office, and so that means all the way up the tower, into the building, down to the basement, all that rerouting, like a rat maze through there. Assisted the water department for 2 days with locates and other projects. They worked with the street department on the pre-removal on Jackson for our work order, and then cleaned and stocked the trucks. They stay very busy. Yep. Question?
That's quite a report.
Okay.
Thank you as always, Jeff.
Yep, no problem.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
All right. Moving right along. Miss Melissa, you're up next.
I have one thing.
One thing,
One
that's
thing.
it.
I just wanna say that,
Okay.
summer ball registration is open, so T-ball, softball, baseball is open from now till April 11th at the regular fee of $35, and then late registration is until the 20th, and then it'll increase $10 to $45.
All right, sure, you left. She loves all those sports. So.
They'll get flyers home soon from school.
Since Alderman Cisco's absent, Alderman Bolerjack, do you have anything tonight, sir?
Just a couple things, and you already touched on one of it. The municipal election is next week, and there's a sample ballot printed in today's newspaper with all the candidates and the questions with the county having the use tax and the recreational marijuana sales tax, the school funds, questions there, hospital board. I would encourage people to review those questions, candidates, and research, and legislature right to them. Want to say that, and then also want to welcome Steve, our new Public Works Director, and want to thank Chief Chase for serving as our interim Public Works for the past few weeks. You've done an outstanding job. Appreciate you.
All right. Next up, Alderman Williams.
All right. have, well, 2.5 things. One, touching up on what Bowler Jack said. Thank you, Chief Chase, and welcome, Steve. The second thing, as a city liaison to the 100 Acre Wood Group, everything went smoothly. They really appreciated being here. A lot of the racers came up. And a lot of businesses helped a lot of racers this past weekend with repairs and things like that, opening up and offering services, offering food and things like that, and they are grateful. I heard personally from the committee that they were excited to be here and excited to come back next year. The last thing that I have, since this will likely be my last regular meeting, I appreciate everything you guys have done. I now have a new insight on what happens in the city. I appreciate the citizens for putting me in this position. I loved the long nights. It was a good time. But I think we have put ourselves in a much better position today than we were 2 years ago. Even through all the changes that we had through personnel and policy changes, I think we did. I hope I've left it better than I came. So I do appreciate that. Yeah. I plan to still be in a bug in the ear, so I'll be around.
You too. Well, we appreciate everything that you've done for the city, though.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Alderman Whalen.
I'll just repeat what Sean and Kyle said. I'm good.
Okay. All right, he's good.
Yeah, they've heard it twice.
God, you said to speak.
You're welcome.
Next item up would be closed session personnel. There's a motion.
I have a motion to go into closed session.
Second.